I want to talk about anti-Semitism right now and the Black Lives Matter movement, but perhaps in a way that will be a little bit surprising. There has been a concern of anti-Semitism around these protests throughout America. We've seen some tweets that have anti-Israel and even anti-Semitic content. We've seen an effort by some to link the Palestinian story to the black story in the United States. And we've seen language like genocide and apartheid thrown around in ways that are extremely unhelpful and border on anti-Semitism. We have also seen explicitly anti-Semitic imagery, like a document that floated around the University of Chicago noticing not just white privilege, but it referred to as Jewish privilege, and that the real struggle needs to be to end Jewish privilege. So there is a genuine concern here. But at the same time, I think we can distinguish that concern from both the slogan and the work of Black Lives Matter. So I want to say a word about what Black Lives Matter is. Black Lives Matter is an organization that started in 2013. And at their founding, they created a number of things in their platform, including a call for boycott, divestiture from the State of Israel. And so in that moment, most Jewish organizations, Kol Hamed included, was very reluctant to use the phrase Black Lives Matter, lest we associate ourselves with an anti-Israel organization. We wanted to support the cause, but not the organization. In 2016, Black Lives Matter removed that plank from their platform and focused solely on racism in the United States. So first of all, I believe it is dishonest to characterize Black Lives Matter as anti-Israel or anti-Semitic. They have removed that from their platform in an effort to have a closer relationship with the Jewish community that is desperate to support and help them. There is, however, another organization called the Movement for Black Lives that's a kind of umbrella organization of which Black Lives Matter is a member. That organization has a much more detailed platform that includes many issues that go into the international community. So they have a platform about invest, divest, where they call upon the United States to lessen or eliminate military aid to any other country in the United States. In that section, you can click on a PDF that's like a 6-page document that criticizes the US for its involvement in the Sudan and Haiti and elsewhere, and has what is to us a very painful paragraph. That paragraph refers to Israel as committing genocide against the Palestinians, and it refers to Israel as an apartheid state, both of which are outrageous mischaracterizations of the state of Israel. However, it does not call for boycott. It calls for the United States to stop investing militarily in the state of Israel, to stop the foreign aid, as it does for almost every other country in the United States, every other country in the world. So the movement for Black Lives is saying something that is hurtful to us and is not calling for boycott. So I do not believe, even there, they cross over a red line. The other thing that I think is important to say about Black Lives Matter is that most people who use that slogan aren't even aware that there's an organization called Black Lives Matter. They mean to draw attention to an historic problem of racism in the United States. And I want to identify that people who say all lives matter are of course correct. All lives matter. We are created in the image of God. Every one of us has infinite and unique value. And that particular slogan is calling attention to a specific problem of how the United States has treated the black minority. It's the same way when we talk about anti-Semitism. When we bring up issues of anti-Semitism, we do not mean to deny other forms of bigotry or hate, but rather to focus in on the specific problem that the United States and the world has had in its treatment of Jews. And so I believe we can stand up and march for Black Lives Matter right now, because we also want to draw attention to the historic challenge of racism in the United States. We can also see that black people have many challenges in their interactions with police, and there's so many other issues of education and access to places to live that the list goes on, and we want to ally ourselves with the black community in addressing and confronting that racism. And I do believe there will come a moment where we can ask our black friends to remove some of these hurtful comments about Israel. But I'd like to say a few things about the timing. Judaism believes in tochecha, that there's a place for calling people to task for misbehavior. But it's also careful to remind us that we look for the right moments to call people to task, to do tochecha. We do it when someone is receptive and able to hear from us. We offer it when someone is capable of hearing what we have to say. And I believe right now the black community is exhausted and in mourning, and they're not in a place of receptivity to a concern that we have about anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli rhetoric. We need to wait, I don't know whether it's 6 months or a year, and talk to our friends and allies with whom we're marching right now and bring to their attention how painful some of those comments about Israel can be for us. I also want to learn from Job. There's Rabbi Moshe Rosenberg, who teaches at SAJ in New York, who brought the example of Job in mourning. You know, Job loses his family, and his friends come to offer him comfort. And what they do is they sit with him, and they wait for him to begin speaking. They wait for the mourner to start and dictate the terms of the conversation. Similarly, right now, the African American community is exhausted. When I talk to my friends and fellow clergy, they're just tired. They're in mourning. It's been one act of violence after another, and they just want it to stop. And so to ask them to have concern for someone else and something else right now seems unfair and cruel. We need to bring some chesed, some love, and to stand and march with the black community in this moment of mourning and pain. And I also want to say that in the same way that when some Jews misbehave or do terrible things, and we know it is anti-Semitic when all Jews are judged as a result, here also there are some African American voices saying things that are incredibly painful and difficult. They're saying some things that are outrageous and anti-Semitic. But it does not characterize all black people. Most of those, the vast overwhelming majority of those marching right now, are simply heartbroken by acts of police violence, by the pain that COVID is bringing to the black community, who are dying at disproportionate rates from any other group in the United States, and just want it to stop. And so I believe we can bring our compassion and understand that not all black people are anti-Israel, quite the reverse. The black community is deeply connected to its church and biblical traditions, and we're going to find many friends and allies who want to study Bible with us and want to understand the wholeness of what the land of Israel is. That's why I went to Israel with the AME Zion Church, to introduce them to a land that we love and care about. At the same time, we could learn from them of how deeply they are connected through their own traditions. So look, we are in a very difficult time in which a lot of the fissures and broken places of American culture are being exposed. And that means hate is coming out and rearing its ugly head in many directions, including anti-Semitism. And I believe this is a moment for us to stand up with the black community and to say, Black lives matter because we are all created in the image of God. You know, there's a story told in the book of Numbers of Moses being married to a Cushite woman, that he married a black woman. And Miriam, his sister, complains about that wife. And it is clear that God is very upset with Miriam for drawing attention to the foreignness and the color of Moses' wife. The Bible wants us to see every single person as created in the image of God. God looks and sees all of our uniqueness and the cultural ways that we grow and strengthen and the different associations that bring such beauty into the world. And God sees every life of unique and infinite value. And it is our responsibility to develop those godlike lenses that will let us see the beauty of every single human being, so that we can stand with our black friends and say, Black lives matter, and we care about you, and we love you, and we are developing a friendship, and maybe in several months or a year, we're going to have another conversation that's based on that same quality of love. Shabbat Shalom.